practices. But, and I will talk about some of the practices after that, but these practices were so important to us that we decided in 2014 to start to work with the federations, mostly in the private sector, that they would identify the unions and the enterprises or the sectors for which it would be important and possible to do some international alliances. And not only international alliances, but also alliances with other unions in Quebec and in Canada. And there's been some processes with the beer workers, and also, well, there are different initiatives, but I'll focus on the international work since this is what interests us here. So, so I'll talk about some experiences, the potential it has, and perhaps what we've learned on the method or the process that has to be developed to reach those alliances. So. One of the strongest examples I can speak about is Kronos. Kronos is a multinational enterprises that produce titanium dioxide. I assume it's correct, to produce paint and plastic, so it's really specific. And they have a plant in Varennes, Quebec, but also in Norway, in Belgium, in the United States, and in Germany. In 2012, seeing that the negotiations would be the year after, and feeling that they would be difficult, there's a mission that goes from the CSN with 3 local members of the union and to visit delegates from the union in Belgium. And so they meet, they visit the plant there, they exchange coordinates, they tell the people in Belgium, the workers, they explain what type of information they can access within the Belgian law, and well, they exchange on the situation. And the year after, in June, just after 12 meetings of negotiations, the employers call a lockout. So, and they really have harsh demands, and it's like everything is closed. They had presented an offer which had been rejected by, I think, 95% of the workers. So there was a battle, a big battle that was going to be delivered. And the union with the Federation and the CSN, they decided to visit the unions in the other countries to get their international support. A lot of that was possible thanks to Industrial, and the director of Industrial for North America has come to the picket line to support the workers. But also because of our contacts. So the Belgium contact was already established. They've returned to Belgium, and then they could access all the financial data from the enterprise, because they have to provide it under the law of Belgium. So they could access all that information. They exchange also information. They've been to Germany, they've been to the States, and they've been to Norway. And exchanging, they could have an idea of the calendar of production, and they could tackle some strategic windows to do actions and to issue press releases talking about international solidarity and declarations from the unions in the other countries that they would do a sympathetic strike of 2 hours that was coming from Norway as a big surprise, but also that in other places they would show their support with the Varennes workers. And finally, this had a big impact in succeeding an agreement before the big demonstration, international demonstration, would actually occur in December. And now the workers in Kronos, well, the agreement was accepted, I think, by 70% of the workers, and they could push back most of the big demands of the employer, which was really important. So they've returned to Kronos now to keep on those links, even though they won't be negotiating in the short term, but they wanted to go back because there's been some change in the union, so they will keep on this relation. The Sonaca, like they've been with Kronos the first time, but like the local didn't keep on the contact. Both locals didn't keep on the contact, so I think it just died. Unfortunately, maybe something can be saved out of it, but if you don't put, that's a big learning. If you don't put the energy to sustain that, it might just go away. The Couche-Tard was interesting. Maybe some of you know that we tried to organize the Couche-Tard convenience stores in Quebec a couple of years ago. It was very, very difficult. And Couche-Tard decided at one point to buy the Statoil. It's the state company selling gas in Norway and in Europe, but just a convenience store and some gas stations. So because I was planning to go to a meeting in Denmark, I said, I'll pay a visit to our Norwegian comrades there, and so we can speak about Couche-Tard, their new employer of some of their workers, and somebody from the CSN came with me also, and we came back with a lot of information and the support of the Norwegian Union. And although it perhaps didn't have the same impact that in the case of Kronos, it did make the boss very nervous and did draw a lot of attention on him internationally. And right now, we have a delegation that's going to Belgium and France next week from Barry Callebaut, which is a company who produces chocolate. There's a plant in Saint-Hyacinthe, and they will visit the workers in 4 different locations in Europe to create those links, to exchange information and everything like that. So more to follow on that case. So I think the goal here is to put a better balance on the information, so to know better the company. What type of clients they have, who are the suppliers, the type of management, the financial data, the type of production, the capacity of production, the work shifts, and the work timing, I don't know, the equipment, everything, to better understand the whole chain of production of the enterprise. To better know also the tendencies. Some of our allies in Europe have access to more corporate activity, more data. They have, and if it's really important to know, if a company in Europe is established, I think in more than 2 or 3 countries, they are obliged, they have the obligation to have an annual meeting with representatives of the workers of every country where they have a plant or a location. So this is not for working relation purposes. They are not negotiating on these meetings, but they communicate a lot of information, and they can communicate some grievance and various issues. So some of them, in the case of Kronos, they committed to bring the case of Varenne to this enterprise committee. So this is something, and sometimes they have agreement also at that level, at the European level, between the unions and the companies. So this is really interesting material to get a grab on. So, of course, the information is a big part of it, production chain, and to be able to know where, at what time does this production place is so important to the other one is a key strategic information in a negotiation and mobilization process. Okay, so this information can serve later. Of course, you need to build some solidarities between the union. It can help you also to have some proposals for your upcoming negotiation that will be based on a better knowledge. to increase the visibility of the fight that you are having, of the mobilization, to intensify the possible impacts of the mobilization if you have, for instance, a sympathetic strike elsewhere, and to put some pressure on the bosses. But it doesn't work always, and there are, I think, some winning condition, I could say, that helps this type of process, and I don't think they can be there all the time, all of them, but such as a capacity to sustain the process is really important, I think, at the local union level, but also at the federation or the confederation level. It's really important to be able to sustain this process that can be very long. That everybody in the other countries, but also here, is really committed to the process, that there's a potential to get some results out of it, that it's possible to establish a long-term relationship between unions at the local level to keep on exchanging information so you don't have to redo it again and again, that there's trust between the unions. And this is tricky because sometimes, like we tried with one Italian enterprise, MAPI, and we didn't have any answer from the Italian unions, and you never know what type of relation they have with the local boss there. Sometimes there's a historic good relation, and they will say, well, what do you choose? Do you choose your jobs there or to help people you don't know in Canada, you know? So I'm not saying that's what is said, but it's a possibility. You never know how things are going. To choose the right moment to start also the action is really important. Sometimes in other country you're knocking on the door and there's nobody to answer because it's vacation or they are in a really big fight over there, or you're too close to your goals. Like if you want to be able to have information for your negotiation in 1 year, but start now, don't start 1 month before, because you might not be able to do that. Also, to respect all the steps, I think it's really important to have a way to do that and not rush in the direct contact and call somebody without notice. Hey, I want to build some relation with you. Let's meet on Facebook and also that these allies have some strength also to be able to answer or provide some support, and that you have capacity of communication, that you can communicate directly. So we are French-speaking people, not everyone is speaking English, so it's kind of difficult, so that's why we have a lot of alliances with the Belgium and the French, but sometimes when people speak English it can help and all that, but that's an issue. So I think I don't want to enter into the details, but one thing is it's important to determine who can be your allies, and I think that's the most important part of this is which segment of the production are we looking at strategically to create that link. Let's say we're a plant that is producing chocolate. Do you want to meet with the others who are doing exactly the same thing or not? And why would you choose this plant or this plant in terms of production-wise thinking, you know? Another choice, another reason to choose these allies between another one is that are they members of an international federation like industrial that we are members to, or does our confederation have ties with the confederation in their country? In which country are they located? Do they have a relation with the CSN and all that? So these are all the questions that you can have to choose wisely. Who do you want to contact? And after that, there might be some international accord cadre, framework agreement that could help also. So yeah, after you make a contact, and the results are really various. Like I mean, it can be a nothing, a big zero, and something that goes beyond what you expected, or what you would have wished for. So. So we experience all these type of answers. So nobody answers your email. Sometimes you get to have a call and you speak a little bit, but you feel that the other part doesn't want to engage into that direction, but doesn't want to say why, and you just have to leave it like that. Sometimes there's a basic exchange of information, and sometimes, like in the case of Kronos, like it's really overwhelming. So, but it has a lot more potential than that, I think. And we're just starting to do that, and I hope, and perhaps you have also all your stories, and well, it's not far from what you just told us about, but you could have a network, and I think the international federations, the global unions are trying to do that more and more, to build a global network, enterprise by enterprise. But sometimes they are very big enterprise, so it's not like a transnational, medium transnational enterprise that wouldn't be like Holcim or Lafarge, but would be still important, like Kronos, for instance. You could do coordinate negotiation like we do, for instance, in our hotels, the hotels at the CSN, we do always coordinate negotiation. You could try to coordinate the mobilization. You can even think about a world strike if you go up to that distance, and that could be done if you have a plan with that network you can build to try to organize the plans that are not organized yet, and to build this network and to be able to after that do all the negotiation and the mobilization all together. So I don't think, I think we have to be ambitious. If we're not ambitious, we're not advancing, so that's very important, but still these potential are potential, not something short term. But yes, I think, I hope more of you have some stories like that to tell. I know other unions have been doing a lot of things like that. So.